So how do you balance the size or quantity of challenges so it's not overwhelming people?
Yeah, that's a great question. Some of my peers have looked at what we're doing and said, we got too much going on here. We got to back it down a little bit. Maybe it's just me, but I don't think so. I think the way that we balance that is that each one of the players on your team has a specific challenge. And you have to back up sometimes. If those challenges collide at a resource that's shared, then you might have to decide what the prioritization is of doing that. But I found that when they collide and you tell them they have to wait, they go around and they solve it in a different fashion. They do it manually. IT right now is in our organization is overwhelmed with activities, e-commerce and systems and on and on and on. And so they're saying, we got to back off some of these ideas. And I'm going, no, we don't. And so the leaders that have been told they have to wait, they keep working through it in some other fashion. They solve it and they get it almost there, and then they can come back and pick that up. I don't know that there's too much. If you as a leader have a specific challenge and you're working on that with your team and cross-functional, everybody's kind of working together. I just don't layer challenges on top of everybody. As you can see, the graphics that I showed up there, they belong to those areas leaders, and then they're able to work through the level that their organization, their specific teams can happen or handle. Thank you. I've experienced that though. That's the thought. I haven't seen it actually play out all the way yet. I answered everybody's question in my presentation. Yeah, I got to pay you some money for this one, don't I?
What do you do if you have so-called leaders that are resistant to engage?
I've had some of those on my team. And I just state very clearly, I know why I'm here. I'm here to do this. I'm here to accomplish this work. Are you going to help me? You need to help me. That's your role, to help me to get this work done. If there's resistance over time, then it becomes a performance issue, really. And we've moved people from our team and actually we had people jump from the team that said, I'm not ready to do that. I'm close to retirement, I'm going to retire. You're moving too fast. The first thing that I do is, anybody that leaves my team, I want them to know they left the team on their own. Not that I forced them out or made that decision, but I give them every opportunity to be successful. I make it really clear why we're here as an organization, and I need their alignment and their support. And they'll either opt out or we get to the place where we just say, hey, it's not going to work. It's not working there. It's a tough conversation. But I believe that's the role of a leader. You have responsibility to the broader team to get someplace. Their jobs are just as important, and they're relying on you to lead and make it happen and sustain it over time. Sometimes that's a tough place to find yourself as a leader. That's the old saying, that's why they pay us the big bucks. Yes, sir. Alan.
Can you describe how you interact between the sort of breakthrough problems that you're dealing with your daily improvement? I know you spoke about the daily improvement activities, but what sort of problem-solving techniques, and are you able to articulate the difference in timelines for that? Yeah. A lot of the daily problem-solving is happening at a PDI level. The coach, the learner, and daily steps. A lot of the breakthrough stuff is happening at a systems level, at a leadership level. So for instance, the machine shop senior manager has a vision of taking all of our machines that are currently kind of traditional layout, and then they pick up the components and they move them to a second operations, burring, blending, polishing, that type of activity, including glass beading for anodize. And his vision was, I want to pull those steps into the machine cells. So we bought a third machine, we've set up a cell, and now we're taking those steps to bring it in. It's long-term, capital equipment's invested capital investments are in play, layout in the floor, multiple organizations are involved with it. So that's the bigger step. Now, how do we get there? Well, we got there through team meetings, through some Kaizen events. Then we bring back PDI in there, pattern for daily improvement.
And that challenge gets used at a higher level to work through a regular basis. He just asked me yesterday, as a matter of fact, if I'd be willing to work with him and another learner as a second coach to get this bigger piece in play. You have to do both. You can't take your eyes off it. I mean, the production system design is where we're going. Some of the components that are in there are going to be big projects. Last year we implemented a new planning software called Agility that helps us to support the Oracle system and what we're doing. That was a huge project. So you do both. You're not going to stop doing some of those things, but then it's how you break them down and move them through the organization that you have to look at.
Hey, Scott. First of all, thank you for this presentation.
Very welcome.
One of the things that you said really stuck out to me as far as your role as a leader is to create gaps and not close them. At Leupold, did you ever encounter having to switch that mindset? I know, just in my experience, a lot of leaders would rather go close the gap versus developing people to close it. Did you guys experience anything like that?
You're describing me. Quite honestly, I like to, the engineer in me comes out, I want to solve it, I want to move forward. It's hard for me to watch people grope through something that I believe I have a solution for. I think there are those times when you just go do it. Now, for instance, a safety item would be a great example. I'm not going to wait for somebody to figure out a safety item. I'm going to go bring the right people together. I might do so by asking questions. Hey, I see this problem. I see this issue. What can we do about it? Is this handled? Are we communicating it? I ask the questions, but I won't walk by it. So that might be an example where it's just a go do it, kind of a leader, more directive. Problem with most of us in this room, be my guest, is that we're all very directive. We direct, we don't ask. We don't lead by asking questions. And giving the opportunities to learn to those folks that are out there. So I'm the role model, or I'm the poster child for what you're describing there, is somebody that steps in and does that. And I'm trying to change it. That's part of the learning. That's part of the lifetime learning is we have to reflect on our style and our strengths and then say, what can we do different? But the tendency needs to be, first, can I lead, can I question, can I challenge before it is to do? Unless it's a matter of safety or business. You're not going to let the business fail, right? You have those items as well. Yes, sir.
Real quick, just to follow up on Trey's question. Sorry, me right here.
You?
Do you have leaders on your team that you've had to coach to allow their people to solve the problem versus solving the problem?
Yeah, I just told Steve that yesterday.
And how do you do that coaching? I think that was a little behind Trey's question.
Yeah. The coaching that I gave Steve is I'd asked him for some stuff, and he was starting to dig in and solve for it because he's a new guy and he wants to learn it. And when I saw that he was doing that, I said, what I'm hoping is that you can go to your people and challenge them with the data that you need, and then check the data and make sure that you gain that understanding, give them the opportunity, and then feed it back through so that that information's there. So I do it on the spot. We have a daily production meeting, and it's a 20-minute meeting, and we cover a whole bunch of stuff, but there's many times in a spot on that daily production meeting where we stop and we do some level of coaching about some stuff. I meet one-on-one with my senior managers, and in that one-on-one, we follow a standard format. It starts with you. How are you doing? Let's check in. Me. How am I doing? What could I do better? Have I said anything or done anything that's either made you cringe or embarrassed you? I want to give them an opportunity to give me real life feedback. So I want to break down some of those walls of that. Then I say, what are your action items? Where are you going with action items? How's your team doing? What's the work? And is there any messaging that we need to do? That's the standard format that we work through. So I have opportunities to coach and teach daily and weekly with my team leaders, but then there's all kinds of other opportunities that come up during hallway meetings and stuff. But yeah, it's the idea that we're trying to project that the challenging the people and letting the right level of the organization respond and answer the questions. There was somebody else. Yes, sir.
I'm just wondering, Leupold Stevens, in terms of reporting out on the value of the challenges and stuff, do you guys report out on the return on investment for individual challenges, or how do you value to them? Is it all through the KPIs and that type of thing?
Yeah, I wish Sheila was here. That's been our challenge for a couple of years. One of the toughest things that any of us in this room have to do is to demonstrate the value or the benefit of the continuous improvement work that you're doing. What's the value of 1 square foot that you save? What's the value of a minute of lead time you reduce? You know, those types of conversations. And so for me, what I look at in these big challenges is I'm checking in. Are we seeing progress, right? Black Ops, for example, clean tables to actually within the first year 2 plan, having the first run done. So I can see the progress there. Now, the next question is, what was the benefit to that? And that was a conversation we had yesterday. What was the, so we put several $100,000 of investment in new equipment for this area. They had said, here's the return on investment as part of the capital expense. That still exists. I still talk to them about capital. Did you get the return? What else is there? How are you communicating it? There's that piece of it that is important. But you can see the progress as it's moving forward as well. And for me, the value of continuous improvement is measured by our direct costs coming down or our contribution margins going up and our operational expenses being managed. And so that's what I sign up for. I sign up and says, you know, I don't want the Kaizen report out that says we did this and this and this, and they're kind of soft dollars. I expect monthly, quarterly, and annually to be able to see the improvements on our direct costs, and that's how we're holding those down. If the vision is right, it's right for business reasons. And it's those business reasons that you can go back and check against. And that's the improvement that we're after. I saw somebody over here. Yes, sir.
I appreciate that you've laid out kind of the steps in the process. And given what you've learned in terms of going through this, if someone else is starting in kind of that status quo managing with an organization and wants to get at least to the spot where you have a vision and challenges assigned and people are starting to work on those, what's the time frame from that start to lay that groundwork and get to the point where you can start that wheel in motion based on your experience?
So that's interesting. The vision that I shared with you today is on Rev I. It's 2.5 years old, almost 3 years old now. But before that was finished, I was already putting challenges in front of my people because I knew that was what was important. I challenged the machine shop senior manager to give us back 10,000 hours of capacity in a year's time frame. And then I coached him and worked through him. So I don't know that you have to wait. If you want to create your vision, I would grab a key group of people that understand your work and your business, and I'd pull them in a room and I'd stand in front of a whiteboard, start up like value stream man. What's our demand? What are our demand streams? What are we looking at? What's the percentage of the businesses that are there? What are the major things that we do? You know, let's see if I can pull it up here and show it to you. That top line there shows machining value center, assembly value center, mounts value center, OEM accessories value center. It shows the DC. So we broke it down and started looking at it in big buckets and said, you know, just starting there, is our business rolling the way it's supposed to be? How do we support our customer? You know, is it, we'd like to have, you can't read that, that says VMI, and I think this says consumer direct. So we wanted to go consumer direct, which we don't do. That's huge. So I think you can back off and look at it big, and then, like I was saying, that conversation, that's incredibly valuable. Because now you're leading them, they're hearing what matters to you, where you want to go, how you want to get there, and you're also open to them saying, what about? So I wouldn't delay on putting challenges out. I'd look at your business and what's my Hoshin, and how do I start connecting my team to some challenges that move us forward immediately on that. And then I'd back up and go to work on the longer term vision. This is, to me, this is a 5 to 10 year approach. And there's some of those, the planning system I could actually mark off there. When that was on there, that was before Legility. Well, Legility just went live, so I can take that one off now. It was a big piece for us. Yeah, hope that helps.
Did you have a problem understanding your challenge from your CEO as to what his vision was? Because world-class American manufacturing company, that can seem a little bit...
Big and broad?
Yes.
Yeah.
You have that two questions in mind. And once you understood or like talk back and forth, to have making your senior managers understand your vision of what that meant, and them understanding or perhaps going back and forth.
Yeah. So the first one, did I understand the CEO's idea of what world-class meant, world-class American manufacturing? The conversations that we had had helped me to make sure that I understood that up to that point. We had had a lot of discussions around what mattered to us as we were working on the vision statement itself. The world-class piece of it came from my language. To me, world-class is best in class in key performance areas. So if you're world-class, it's about your results. That's how I see world-class. It's the highest achievement in safety, in quality, in delivery, in profitability, and people and development. Because that's what draws somebody to look at you, is the results of your organization. So to me, I'm striving for this tall order of the best in class in those categories. So, but there's the people and the environment that I'll also add in there. So, there's sketchball, to your point, how we did that. The second part of your question is the senior managers. When I told them that I wanted them to go through this process, they didn't quite get what it was that I was asking them to do, because I hadn't created that yet. So I backed off and started this. I started this with an engineer in my office on a whiteboard saying, okay, let's go. We spent about 2 hours in there, and he took a picture of it and he left, and about an hour later he came back and said something like this, yeah, but we did this for weeks. And I brought it in when I could, and made sure that I had time for it. And then I shared it to the team, said, this is what I'm thinking. What do you guys think? Well, yeah, but, off we went. Another conversation. Great conversations. Because they weren't all thinking flow production and one by one production mattered, or a new safety or a new quality system mattered. So it allowed that conversation to take place. And it was through the conversation that I enrolled them in my thinking, and I listened to their thinking and made sure I included it. So when we were done, they're on fire to make this happen. We're moving, and a lot of the pieces have already been put into play. So I hope that answers. It's about face-to-face communication and really understanding the needs. Yes. Oh, yes, sir.
Hey, what do you do when people say they don't have time for the daily improvements? I'm talking specifically about like hourly employees that are on the floor doing the job. You're asking them to improve things every day, week in and week out, not just a one-time thing.
Yeah, that's the creating that environment where people thrive piece, right? Creating that culture, striving for excellence, being clear on what that means to you, being clear on the vision of the company, why we're doing what we're doing, and then connecting some stuff. And it takes a level of trust that the leaders in the organization are trying to do the right thing. But you have to take the time to enroll them. And going back to Kaizen training, facilitator training, you grab that influential skeptic. If you can turn an influential skeptic, you have this champion that will deal with a lot of those kind of issues. Oh, geez, Dale bought in, and he's been hard-headed about this for years. If he bought in, it can't be all bad. And so they go to Dale and say, well, Dale's an advocate. So it's a cultural piece. It's not just one-off kind of stuff, and everybody's different. Not everybody gets what you're doing, so you have to slow it down and break it down for them and tell them. I'll tell you that one of the big challenges I gave to a team was to move aluminum bar stock directly from the truck to the machines. And we eliminated 2 huge racks, gave ourselves 4,000 square feet, saved about $500,000 in one-time bar stock reduction. And so why are we doing this? Well, as soon as that floor space was empty, a couple of used index mill turn centers came available, and I bought them, and I put them down there. And so what did these people just see? Hey, that improvement led to this investment in the company, which gave us more jobs and sustainability. So you have to line up the value for them, the WIFM, if you will. What's in it for me in the conversations that you're working on? And that's part of that conversation, that coaching, developing, and leadership. How are we doing on time, Julie? Yeah, I've got 14 minutes if anybody wants to ask another question. Appreciate it. Mr. Gilmore. No.
So you've talked about daily and maybe even moderate breakthrough activities, but how do you think about the truly extraordinary breakthroughs, like maybe, for example, considering 3D manufacturing, a totally
Innovative stuff, yeah.
Total innovation.
I consider it, as you know me, I would. My vision's still pretty up here, kind of top, system level. And then each of the visions that are cascaded down would more than likely include that. I certainly didn't put it on this one that said I wanted to put in a bunch of new technologies, but new technologies is a part of what we're looking at and we support. So the gentleman, this guy here on your left, we paid for him to go to the IMTS and look for technologies that could help us to do something different. Some of the work that's being done in the Black Ops line was to take big batch operations, and our engineers designed real specific tools and equipment using new technologies. I support it, but it's not the conversation level that I'm having it at. But as it comes to me through other means, I really do support it. I'm excited about it. I think there's some great things for us to do there. Okay, we're slowing. Uh-oh, Margie's back at it.
Thanks, Scott. I have one more question regarding talk about making organizational changes as you've kind of gone along. What's been your indicator, like what drives you to take action and your frequency of doing that? I don't know if there's
Describe organizational change that you're thinking.
Like making changes in roles.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things.
So part of the role change and adding people came from that original vision that was up on the board a minute ago. And as I looked at that, I shifted some responsibilities, like the maintenance and facilities team reports to the senior manager of parts manufacturing, because most of that team are maintenance mechanics that are working day to day to keep the equipment running. So there was good alignment there. So it starts with that vision again. I just take it right back to the vision. What makes the most sense? There's some desire to shift somebody to change an organization structure, and somebody says, well, why don't we do this? And I use the vision. I say, does that align us to the work that we're trying to do, or does that create a little bit of an island, a little bit of a silo out there? Yeah, we got this break in our thinking and our flow, and it doesn't work. So I always kind of bring it back to that vision and say, does that support where we want to go as an organization? And we've created some roles, and in that creating the roles is just a conversation that we have as an executive team, and then move forward if it has value and it's supported. Appreciate everybody's time here.
Any other questions? Because I have one to close.
Oh.
But I don't want to take it somebody else's turn.
Here's a follow-up. I saw that coming in his eyes.
No, it's totally different. We've talked about the production side of Leupold. What about the non-production side? Do they follow types of similar systems?
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, you did. And I told you I thought it'd be Jeff. So this is the work that I'm promoting. And so you've been a CEO and ran a leadership team, and if I come to you with a suggestion, say, I want to do this, you'd support me. But you wouldn't necessarily say that we're all going to do this. So at this point in time, the way that I'm approaching this is by demonstrating the results, the value that we get, the energy that we get, the financial results that we get. And what I'm starting to see is some of my peers, the other executives that are running this, they're asking us more now for CI help. They're asking us more for, can we take this language and make it transferable through the organization? So my approach has not been to force it, but to model it, and then to respond in a pull system kind of way, to respond to the executives that want to try it, and then hopefully over time the entire team will be able to see the value. And it might morph, it might change, hopefully it gets better and it gets clearer and more concise. But so I'm a little bit of an experiment within Leupold Stevens, if you will. It's easy for me to be the experiment because I have the majority of the departments that are operational and production, so we're getting really good results and we can demonstrate that. Yeah, it's a great question. I knew Julie was right, it was coming. Dana.
So for all of you that don't know Jeff Gilmore, he was the CEO and president at Climax Portable Machine Tools, where I worked for 7 years. So I worked for him. So he's kind of got a little bit of inside information here.
This isn't so much a question, but my name is Dana Martinez. I work at Leupold Stevens. I'm a CI specialist. I report through Sheila up to Scott. And I just can't keep my mouth shut. This is so true. The question you just asked, just yesterday, I got to walk a cost accountant down on the floor through the processes that are going on in my area. I didn't walk her through, I assisted, and the lead on the left there walked her through some of the changes and the improvements, and she was giddy about understanding how the process and the operation works and how we can make improvements from a cost accounting perspective and the execution of the manufacturing perspective. So it really can happen, and it does sort of bleed out in those other areas. I'm working with marketing now on trade shows and how we prepare for those. And they don't see things like processes in that manner. But once we can show them that it works in other areas, they start to get excited about it too. So don't be discouraged. It can happen. It can grow organically, as Scott mentioned. And it really does start with that, having that purpose and that vision in mind. And it can explore those other areas.
Do you see the excitement in my people? This is so typical of somebody that sees it and gets it, and they just want to make it happen.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to follow up on one of your earlier questions. So I work with Dana, Tim's lead that works in my area. Remember how Scott mentioned that we sent him to IMTS last year? It was just yesterday. Again, when Dana and I were meeting with him on his PDI, and he was discussing some of the issues he's encountering, and he started bringing up, well, I did see this at IMTS that would help. So having that level involved in what the vision is. So when you were looking at that mount section, the lead, has been involved in what we want this future state to be. You know, a lot of it's been directed from me, but so he's intimately involved so that when there is the questions of new technology, we have somebody who's very intimately familiar with the process saying, hey, this is what we might do. So I think that, again, that level of involvement, I was not a plant.
No. Please sit down. Thanks, Richard.
So Scott, you used the word challenges a number of times that have been put in front of people. So I'm curious if you could give us some examples of challenges that have been put in front of people. And then what's your main challenge for 2017?
Great question. So Dana, what's Richard's challenge? Do you know?
Have a visual pull. Richard's challenge, who has a mount system, is have a visual pull system all the way from raw material through finished goods or reverse. Think about how the pull system works. And the goal was actually by the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a little behind schedule, but we're still plowing forward towards that.
So that's an example of one challenge. So if you look at this, for every one of those departments, they have a challenge that's specific like that. And their challenge then becomes very detailed in as much as their graphic is the document that we're using as the definition of the challenge. So it's not just words like that. Then it gets to be really specific. I want 1-by-1 flow. I want 98% first pass yield, and we get into the detail of it. And my challenge for 2017, it's a little different because my challenge is to accomplish that production system, and it's not just for 2017. But my challenge is to drive the quality of our product across the board up to that 95% level. So quality is my Hoshin this year. And we've been working on it. We recognize as an organization that is the best opportunity for us to increase our reputation in the marketplace, to increase our profitability, to ease the issues that are in the factory, because nobody in the factory or in any office either wants to make mistakes. And most of the mistakes that they're making are some level of a process mistake, not a personal mistake. So quality is for us to look at across the line and work on that. Thanks, Elizabeth. Good to see you. Yeah.
Any other last questions? So Scott, my question to you is more around potential next step for this group. And I think you guys see now what I was talking about. This is a little different work that we aren't seeing in a lot of organizations. And so everyone needs coaching. You know, I'm a big advocate of coaching to help develop. So my question is, if leaders today that are listening to you today wanted to take a next step and start this process, might there be an avenue to get some coaching from you going forward?
That's a huge commitment that I don't know that I can sign up for with the amount of work that I have to do. But maybe through one of your SIG-style meetings, we could come together and talk about it. One thing would be very interesting for me to do, and what I would like to do to help to progress my own learning and maybe yours is if you were to take the time to create a graphical representation of your vision, and I'd like to hear it. I'd like for you to present it. And maybe in some type of a different form than even a SIG, if several of you came and said, here's what we're thinking, what we're doing, it would give us as an opportunity as a group of people to ask questions about it, to say, what were you thinking here? Is that big enough? You know, is that incremental or is it breakthrough? Is it extraordinarily breakthrough? That opportunity could exist, and that would take much less time. You know, the idea of coaching is a repeat weekly, if not daily, kind of activity, and it's a little bit tougher for me to sign up for that. But I could certainly get into seeing what you guys are thinking about. Now, on that slide, there's not a lot of proprietary, specific information. I've reduced as much of that as I thought was needed. And I don't think you need to have that in your visions either. I think you need to have the current state data to tell you why you put it in there, and you need to be able to speak to it. For instance, what's the percentage of each of those demand streams of my business? I pull that off there. That's nobody else's business but our own. And I actually go to the detail of looking at what margins are in there, maybe how many people are in there, what's the lead time of each. I start to look at that, and that's current state data that you use to say, okay, what do we want it to be? Those of you that have value stream mapping, this is just a kind of a bigger piece of that allows you to be way out there if you want to and what you're working on. I'd support being able to do something like that. And my guess is just bringing people together to have the conversation would be very successful, whether I was there or not, but it'd be fun.
So would that interest this group, and you don't have to answer right now, and I can certainly follow up with this group about, could there be some type of a next step that we take that brings us together in this collaborative way, which is Northwest HPEC anyway. And Dana just flashed me the evaluation, that she's so smart, more smart than I am. So you can also even write it on your evaluation form if it was something that you were interested in doing. Anything you had a follow-up?
One more question I think usually is this available on our YouTube channel?
It is. Thank you, Frank. So many of you noticed we are videotaping Scott's session today, and we have a YouTube channel, and so I work with Sean, and we'll get it out there within very short order, so that it's available for you guys to share with your organizations, and then for the folks who weren't able to join us today too. So again, we'll do some check-in and some follow-up to see if there might be a next step that we can all take as a group. Or if you guys just want to try this work on your own, that's totally fine.
If there's interest and you want to reach out to me and ask me some questions, I'd be glad to answer those questions and help as much as I can. This is a kind of work I think is important for our community of practitioners. This is really about leadership in our community, and we all pull from the same employee pool, if you will, or available worker pool. We support the same type of education systems that are out there. Us having a similar need that we can communicate and ask for in some of those opportunities or expect is really good too. So I want to support that. I told Julie a long time ago if I could, I'd be Oregon's manufacturing czar. I just think that it's such a key piece of our community and our businesses that we need to be able to support it in a regular fashion. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. Please join me in thanking Scott for his time.